Everyone's talking about cozy games this year, but have you heard of Dreaming Isles? It's a brand new release from solo developer Yawning Dad, and after 4 years of development, it's finally here. Today, I'm diving into my first impressions of this charming pixel art adventure, and I think it might be one of the best hidden gems of 2025. So what is Dreaming Isles? It's a cozy yet ambitious game where you wash up on an abandoned farm after a storm. From there, you're drawn into a much bigger story about taking down a corporate giant called Global Trade. You get to decide whether to align with the pirates or a rebel faction within the corporation. The stakes feel real, but the vibe is still very reminiscent of a cozy game. The game starts off pretty gently, letting you explore your farm and slowly start growing crops, but you'll quickly find yourself exploring the other islands, battling enemies, and making tough choices about your allegiances. It's this mix of cozy farming and adventurous storytelling that makes Dreaming Isles feel so unique. Farming in Dreaming Isles feels familiar, but there are a few twists. For one, you don't need to water your crops. It rains plenty on the farm, but you can use fertilizer to speed up your growth. Crops also have special effects in combat. For example, some can freeze or burn enemies, which adds a strategic layer to your farming. I love how simple the farming felt. Seeds sometimes yield extra crops and even more seeds, which keeps the gameplay going. One of my first tasks was to grow 12 wheat, and at first I was worried I'd run out of seeds because I didn't feel like I had enough, but thankfully I realized how the system worked. The combat in this game is simple but engaging. You'll start by swinging a basic sword at enemies like bats and rats, eventually coming up on spiders and other creatures. It's not super forgiving at first. You'll take some hits early on, but as you use the combat more, you start to level up, your skills improve, and the fights feel more rewarding. You can also craft potions to restore health or stamina, and later you'll unlock magic spells using spell stones. But the exploration is where Dreaming Isles really shines. There are several islands to visit, each with its own story. Scythe is a pirate haven in perpetual autumn, Freestad is snowy with deep caves, and Moon Hollow hides important story elements, and there are other islands for you to explore as well. You can even upgrade your boat for faster travel between the islands, and you can make updates to your cannons to fire better at your enemies. Beyond the core mechanics of this game, Dreaming Isles packs in plenty of extras. You can adopt pets, build relationships with NPCs, and even play 2 of the included minigames at launch, fishing and cards. For those of you who love relationship mechanics in games, Dreaming Isles does offer you the ability to deepen connections with 6 total bachelors and bachelorettes. In a later update, there will be at least 2 new characters added to those options as well. This gives players even more reason to invest time in forming bonds and seeing how the relationships impact the story. Fishing was somewhat challenging to figure out at first, but rewarding once you get the hang of it, and the cards, it's a fun way to wager and win more fish in the game. Now let's talk about the visuals. The 2D pixel art is stunning with vibrant colors and charming details that reel you in. It's one of those games where you can just stop and appreciate the scenery. Performance-wise, it ran pretty smoothly for me. The sailing felt a bit slow at first, but it's something you get used to, and it picks up after you upgrade your sail on your boat. And before I forget to mention it, the game does autosave at big moments and when traveling, so don't let that hold you up in-game. And the best part about this game, it's just beginning. The developer has already announced 2 major updates he plans on releasing. Chapter 2, coming in Quarter 2 or Quarter 3 of 2025, will add house customization, the ability to have children, new seeds, and new recipes. Chapter 3 is set for Quarter 1 of 2026 and will close the central storyline and introduce new islands, boat races, and even a bar management minigame. It's clear that Yawning Dad isn't quite done improving Dreaming Isles yet. So, what are my first impressions of Dreaming Isles? It's a cozy game with a new twist. The blend of farming, exploration, storytelling, and naval combat makes it stand out among the rest, and the planned updates promise even more to look forward to. If you're a fan of games like Stardew Valley or Spiritfarer, this one's worth checking out. And if you're like me and love playing cozy games with a controller, you're in luck because this game offers you the ability to play with your favorite controller. And now here are just a few tips to get you started in the game. The first tip is to look everywhere. There are so many little items that you can find and stumble across on the land or in different buildings. So don't leave any stone unturned. Get out there and explore and find all the recipes and things that you can gather. Tip number 2 is that there is no curfew. You can go to bed whenever you please. So don't worry about trying to make it back to the island in time. You don't have to rush over there. Also, if you're on any given island, there should be a bed you can use on that island, and you don't have to worry about going back to your specific farm. Tip number 3, if you're looking for the card minigame, don't miss the fishing boats that are out in the ocean when you're on your boat. Just pull up to one of these areas that has a fish on it and you will be able to play the game. Be careful when you're playing the card game, as if you lose, then you will lose some of the money that you had wagered. I felt like it was very easy to just start playing the game and not even realize what you were actually wagering, so just be cautious of that. Tip number 4 is to really give the game enough time, because while you're playing it, you may feel at first that it's very simple or that there isn't enough to do, but that is not true. Give it some time. There are so many things to unlock and new places to explore, so just really stay patient and it will come. A lot of people compare games like this to Stardew Valley, and I do feel like in some cases it is warranted, and in others you really can't compare different games like that as much as they may look similar. But I will say this game does have the same feeling of unlocking new things that you just don't expect. New areas and new characters and new things that come along with those relationships and parts to the story. So while it does have some similarities, it is not at all just a copycat of the game. You will find some new value and intriguing things specific to this game. Another tip that you may find helpful is that when you're sailing, it feels a little bit slow and it's kind of hard to describe why. I thought maybe it was because it was trying to give you that sense that it's a big ocean that you're trying to cross. However, pay attention to the way that the wind is blowing, because that can actually affect your boat. If you are sailing straight on and the wind is coming directly at you, then you are going to go slower than if the wind was pushing you along if you're going in the same direction. So just be careful of that as well. And one of the last tips I'll give you for this game is, if you're somebody who doesn't think you'll like the combat mechanic in this game, I just want to encourage you to go ahead and give it a try. You might realize that it actually adds a little bit of fun to the game. I don't enjoy the combat mechanics in the games that I play. However, if it is pretty simple, then it doesn't deter me too much. And I have started to realize that the more I practice and try out different combat mechanics, the more I enjoy it. So just don't let that stop you. Go ahead and play the game and you will have so much fun. Thanks for joining me on this adventure. If you've played Dreaming Isles, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're curious about other cozy games coming up, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, Cozy Games with Callie, for more upcoming reviews and gameplay. And I'll see you in the next video.